I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. My name's Jake, and I was with Emily for almost 5 years before I proposed. We were planning our wedding, and everything seemed perfect on the surface. She was beautiful, smart, confident, and honestly, I thought she was the one. But as the days went by, little things started to bother me. Small stuff at first, a missed call here, a strange message there. Nothing too obvious, but enough to make me feel uneasy. The signs weren't screaming at me, but they were enough to get under my skin. Emily had always been a little bit of a bitch, honestly. She loved to manipulate, lie, and make everything about her. I could see it in how she dismissed my concerns when I asked about her phone or why she suddenly had to stay late at work. She'd roll her eyes, call me paranoid, and then plaster on that fake smile that made me want to punch something. Still, I kept quiet, thinking maybe I was overthinking things. Maybe I was just insecure, but deep down I knew something was off. Then, the week of our engagement party, everything changed. Emily was acting super secretive. She was more bitchy than usual, snapping at me for no reason, calling me jealous every time I asked about her whereabouts. I remember jokingly asking if she was hiding something, and she snapped back, "Stop being so paranoid, Jake. I'm not cheating on you, God." Her voice was sharp, almost angry. I didn't want to believe it, but her words and her attitude didn't match her usual personality. It was like she was hiding something she didn't want me to find out. The night of the engagement party was supposed to be joyful, but it was tense. Emily was being especially bitchy that evening, and I caught her sneaking away from the group a couple of times. Then, I noticed her phone kept vibrating and she was nervously trying to hide it. I saw her glance at the screen and quickly put it in her pocket when she saw me looking. That's when I started to wonder if she was hiding something. Something big. I decided to keep an eye on her, even if she'd hate me for it. The next day, I was cleaning up the house, feeling restless when I found something that made my stomach drop. A hotel key card tucked away in her purse. It looked like one of those cheap room keys you get from a sketchy hotel. I couldn't believe it. My first thought was that she was cheating on me with some random guy, but then I remembered her attitude at the party. She was acting secretive, anxious, like she was hiding something. I couldn't shake the feeling that this key card was the proof I needed. I kept it in my pocket all day, trying to figure out what to do. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but everything in me was screaming that Emily was lying, and she was definitely cheating on me. The thought of that made me feel sick. How could she lie to me like that, especially now, after all the plans we made? And with the best man of all people, the guy she always flirts with but swore she'd never cheat on me with. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't expect how the confrontation would go or how much it would shatter my world. That night I couldn't sleep. The image of that hotel keycard haunted me, swirling in my mind like a bad movie I couldn't turn off. I kept replaying her words from earlier in the day, her bitchy tone, her fake apologies for being stressed, and that sneaky little look she had when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I knew I had to face her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, not anymore. So I waited until she was asleep, or so I thought. The house was silent except for the faint sound of her breathing. I took the keycard out of my pocket and stared at it for a long time. My hands were trembling. I was furious, confused, hurt, all at once. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was staring me right in the face. I finally decided I wasn't going to confront her blindly. I needed a plan, something careful, something that would give me the answers I sought without making her run or deny everything. The next morning, I started watching her more closely. She was still acting bitchy, snapping at me over small things, avoiding eye contact. When she left the house to run errands, I followed her. I didn't care if she caught me, I just needed proof. She drove to this rundown hotel on the edge of town. Of course, I didn't go inside yet. I parked a few streets away and watched her go in. She stayed for about an hour, then came out looking exhausted but strangely satisfied. I snapped a picture of her pulling out her phone, which she immediately turned off and shoved into her purse. That was enough for me. I knew she was cheating, and I didn't need her to tell me otherwise. The betrayal hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt sick. This wasn't just some fling. This was her lying, sneaking, cheating behind my back like I was nothing. The worst part, she's always been the kind of woman to fake her innocence, lie through her teeth, and act like everything's fine. I knew she'd deny everything if I confronted her directly, but I had to get more proof, more concrete evidence before I did anything. I spent the rest of the day obsessing over it, trying to come up with my next move. I knew I couldn't just accuse her without proof. I had to be smart about it. I thought about calling her out in front of her friends, but that seemed too reckless. I wanted her to admit it herself, to see her unravel when she realized I knew the truth. That's when I started planning to catch her red-handed, maybe even confronting her in the hotel if I could get the right opportunity. And then, just as I was about to lose my mind with the fury, I remembered something. The hotel keycard I found. What if she'd gone back? What if there was more than just one visit? I had to find out. I decided I'd get a friend to help me, someone who could sneak in and find out what was really going on. I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without paying the price. The thought of her lying and sneaking around with the best man, someone I trusted, made me see red. But I also felt a strange, sinking sadness, knowing that once I confronted her, everything would change. I'd lose the woman I thought I knew, maybe forever. That's the thing about betrayal, it's not just about the affair. It's about trust, the foundation of everything we had. And now, was starting to realize that I might never trust anyone again. Not in my own life, not in my future. The betrayal cut deep, and I knew I'd have to decide what to do with that anger and heartbreak. After spending the entire day obsessing over her trips to that hotel and the little pieces of evidence I managed to gather, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I had to do something, confront her, or at least get her to admit the truth. But I also knew that if I just went off half-cocked, I'd probably end up pushing her further away, or worse, escalating the situation into some huge, ugly fight. That's why I decided to put a plan together, one that would give me an edge, something she wouldn't see coming. That evening I called my buddy Steve, who's always been good at sneaky stuff, and told him what I was dealing with. I explained the hotel, the keycard, her weird behavior. Steve is the kind of guy who's not afraid to bend the rules if it means getting to the truth. I trusted him to help me figure out what was really going on. We agreed that the best move was to send someone to sneak into that hotel and see if she was there again, maybe even catch her in the act. I wanted proof, real proof, and I wasn't going to settle for just some blurry photo or gut feelings anymore. The plan was set. Steve had a guy he knew, a low-key guy named Mike, who owed him a favor. Mike would go in, pretend to be a guest, and scope out what was happening. If Emily was back at that hotel, Mike needed to find out exactly what she was doing. Was she alone? Was she with someone else? Or was she just there for some innocent reason? I didn't care about her lies anymore. I wanted hard evidence, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get it. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing, thinking about how much this was going to change everything. I kept telling myself that no matter what, I had to stay calm. I didn't want to blow everything up without knowing for sure, but it was so hard. The pain, the betrayal, it was like a big, heavy weight pressing down on my chest. I thought about all the times I stood by her, trusted her, believed her when she said she loved me. And now I was starting to realize that maybe she never did. Maybe she just used me like some kind of fool. The next morning, Steve texted me with the update. Mike had gone in last night, and what he found was worse than I could have imagined. Emily was there, again, and she was definitely not alone. There was a guy, a tall, broad-shouldered guy I recognized from her social media, and they looked pretty damn intimate. They weren't just talking, they were making out, holding hands, and from what Mike could hear, they even had sex in that room. I saw a picture of her lying on the bed, eyes closed, like she was totally lost in the moment. My stomach churned. That was it. I had all the proof I needed. I sat there staring at that picture, my hands trembling. I couldn't believe it. All those months of her telling me she was stressed, tired, busy, lies. She was out there cheating on me with the best man I trusted, the one guy I thought was my friend. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face, act like everything was fine, and then sneak around with someone I once considered a brother? The anger boiled over, and I knew that I couldn't just brush this under the rug anymore. I had to confront her, but I also knew that I needed to be smart. I didn't want her to deny or spin her way out of it. I wanted her caught red-handed, cornered with no way out. So I waited until she came home that evening pretending everything was normal. She was still bitchy, snapping at me for no reason, acting like she didn't have a care in the world. I kept my cool, waiting for the perfect moment to drop the bomb. When she finally sat down to watch TV, I just looked at her and said, "We need to talk. I know what you've been doing." Her face froze for a second, then she started with her usual lies. "Jake, what are you talking about?" "I was just at the grocery store." That's when I pulled out the photos and the hotel keycard I'd hidden in my pocket. Her eyes widened in shock. Her perfect little facade crumbled in seconds. The bitchy attitude, the fake innocence, all gone. She looked at me coldly and tried to spin some story about how she was only there for business, or that it was a mistake, or that she was just trying to figure herself out. But I wasn't buying it. I saw her for what she was, an unfaithful, manipulative liar. The room went dead silent. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I realized then that I'd been blind, that I'd given her so much trust, and she'd thrown it all away. My mind was racing, trying to process everything. The lies, the betrayal, the fact that she'd been sneaking around with my best man. I couldn't believe I was standing here in my own house with all my hopes and dreams shattered in a single moment. I didn't know what to say, what to think. All I knew was that I couldn't stay in that house anymore, not like this. That confrontation was the worst moment of my life. Emily sat there, her face cold and blank, trying to act like she hadn't been caught. She denied everything. At first, her usual fake laugh, insisting I was mistaken, that the hotel keycard was a mistake, that she was just tired and stressed out and that I was overreacting. She threw in some of her classic lies about how she's been faithful, how she loved me, and how she'd never cheat. It was like listening to a stranger, someone who was trying desperately to cover her tracks with bullshit. But I wasn't buying any of it. Not after seeing her in that hotel room, not after seeing her lips pressed against that other guy. The betrayal cut so deep I felt like I was about to fall apart. I was shaking, my fists clenched so tight I thought I'd break my knuckles. I looked at her and just said, "You lied to my face from the start. You've been sneaking around behind my back since before our engagement even happened. With him." Her eyes flashed with anger, then with that fake tears that she always used to manipulate everyone around her. She tried to turn it around, of course. She started crying, saying she was sorry, that she was weak, that she didn't mean to hurt me, that she was just so confused. That's her favorite, blame it on being confused or stressed out like she's a victim. I felt so sick hearing her try to justify it all. I honestly never thought I'd see her like this, so unfiltered, so raw. It was like she was justifying her cheating as some kind of mistake, like she hadn't just been caught red-handed with her best man. I felt this overwhelming wave of sadness, then anger. How did I get to this point? How did I let her manipulate me so much? I kept thinking about all those times I thought she was just being bitchy or moody, but really, she was probably thinking about her next lie, her next sneaky move. I was starting to see her for what she truly was, a liar, a manipulator, someone who'd do anything to keep her secret. I realized I'd wasted so much time trusting her, believing her excuses, thinking she loved me. And now, all I had was this sick feeling in my gut and the image of her in that hotel room, cheating on me. The worst part was that she still refused to own up entirely. She kept trying to gaslight me, saying I was overreacting, that I'd misunderstood, or that I was just jealous. She kept insisting she loved me, that she'd never do anything to hurt me, that it was all a mistake. I looked at her and thought, this woman is a master at lying. She was lying to my face with that bitchy smirk, trying to make herself the victim. It made me furious. I didn't want to stay in that room and listen to her anymore. My heart was pounding and I could feel my chest tightening. I told her I was done, that I couldn't do this anymore, that I was finished trusting her. I grabbed my coat and keys and I told her I was leaving. She begged me to stay, to listen, to not give up on her, but I couldn't. I felt like I had already lost everything. My future, my trust, my respect for her. No way I was going to stay and pretend everything was okay. As I walked out of that house, I realized I'd never look at her the same way again. I knew she'd try to lie her way out. of it, maybe even come crawling back, but I was done. That betrayal had changed everything. I felt numb, like a part of me had died inside. I didn't know if I'd ever forgive her or if I even wanted to. All I knew for sure was that I'd never forget this feeling, the heartbreak, the anger, the sense of total betrayal. And the worst part, I trusted her enough to believe she'd never lie to me, and now I see how wrong I was. After I left that house, I drove around for what felt like hours, just trying to clear my head. The adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by this hollow, aching emptiness. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so stupid to think she was different from all the other women who cheated or lied or manipulated. Emily was the first one I truly trusted, and she threw it all away. I kept thinking about how she lied, how she'd always been bitchy and dismissive, and how inside she was just a master at hiding the truth. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my phone, debating whether I should call her or just block her number entirely. Part of me wanted to hear her voice to make her admit everything, but another part told me I'd just be wasting my time. I realized I had to take control of this situation myself. I couldn't let her manipulate me further or keep lying to me. I needed to do something final. Over the next few days, I kept my distance, but I also started to plan my next move carefully. I didn't want to just jump into some angry confrontation again. I wanted to make sure she knew I had proof. I decided to hire a private investigator, someone who could dig into her secret life and gather more evidence. I wanted to see if she'd been cheating on me with anyone else, or if it was just the one guy. I needed to know the full extent of her betrayal, and I wasn't going to leave any stone unturned. Meanwhile, Emily was still lying her ass off, texting me that she was sorry, that she'd never do it again, and that she was confused. She was trying to manipulate me into coming back, I could tell, but I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I felt nothing but disgust. How could she look me in the eye and lie to my face like that? I realized she'd been doing it for months, maybe longer. She'd betrayed me in the worst way possible, and I wasn't going to forgive her. Not easily, not anytime soon. The real shock hit me when the investigator came back with new info. It turned out Emily wasn't just sneaking around with her best man, she'd been seeing a lot of other guys, too. The hotel visits were just the tip of the iceberg. There were multiple men she'd been with, some even before the engagement, maybe even during it. I couldn't believe it. All those times she was bitchy, distant, or stressed, she was just out there playing me for a fool. It was like my whole world was crashing down piece by piece. I remember holding that report in my hand, feeling like I was going to lose my mind. All the trust I'd given her, all the dreams about building a future together, gone. And for what? A woman who lied, cheated, and manipulated her way through our relationship. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. That's when I realized I had a choice. I could either keep going down this rabbit hole of pain and betrayal, or I could finally let go of her and start rebuilding myself. I knew I couldn't stay with her anymore, not after everything. The damage was done. I was heartbroken, angry, disgusted. But I also felt this strange sense of relief, like I finally saw her for what she truly was. I decided I'd confront her one last time, not to beg or plead, but to tell her I knew the truth and that I was done. Done with her lies, her games, her manipulations. I wanted her to know I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. So I sent her a message telling her I knew everything. I told her I was walking away, that I didn't want to see her again. I didn't ask for explanations. There was nothing left to say. I just wanted her to know that I was done, and that I was going to move on, even if it hurt like hell. Watching her try to lie her way out of it wouldn't change the facts. I finally saw that trust, once so precious, was just a fragile illusion that she had shattered completely. From that moment, I knew I had to focus on myself, rebuild my life, and leave her behind. In the days that followed, I felt what I can only describe as a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Part of me was glad I finally knew the truth, that I didn't have to waste another second wondering if she was lying or cheating. The other part was devastated, knowing I had invested so much in a woman who was simply playing me for a fool. That realization hit me hard, but it also freed me in some twisted way. I no longer had to pretend everything was okay or brush aside the gut feelings that had been gnawing at me for months. I started slowly cutting ties with her, blocked her number, unfollowed her on social media, and deleted all the shared photos we had. The house we shared felt colder, emptier, like it was missing a part of me. But I knew I had to do it, to let go of that chapter in my life and move forward. It was painful, probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I also knew it was necessary for my sanity. The pain lingered, but with time I grew stronger. I realized how much energy I'd wasted trying to fix something that was broken from the start. I learned that trust is a fragile thing, and once it's gone, it's nearly impossible to get back. More importantly, I learned that I deserved better, someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or manipulate me. I started focusing on myself, on my career, my friends, and my own happiness. I didn't want to be that guy who was always second-guessing, always looking over his shoulder. I wanted to rebuild my life piece by piece. Looking back, I see this as a brutally painful lesson, but one I needed to learn. Never again will I ignore the small signs, the gut feelings. Never again will I let someone manipulate my trust so easily. And most importantly, I won't let betrayal define me. It's made me more cautious, yes, but also more aware of what I need in a partner. Someone who respects me, who's honest, and who values what we have. Because at the end of the day, trust is everything, and once it's broken, rebuilding takes a hell of a lot more than just apologies. So here I am, a little wiser, a little more guarded, but finally free from the chaos of her lies. I've accepted what's happened and I've moved on. I hope this story serves as a warning. Trust your instincts and don't ignore the red flags. Because if you do, you might end up here, picking up the pieces of a life you once thought was perfect.